by chance. All right. It is a result of years of dedication, innovation, and hard work by those who laid the foundation before us. Okay. Every modern achievement we enjoy today is built on the effort of earlier generation. As we reflect on how far technology and humanity has come, it's important to recognize and appreciate the individuals and community who pushed boundaries and made this advancement possible. So we continue. In this webinar, we will explore the future of web development while remaining mindful of our current position and the journey that brought us here, honoring the past as we prepare for what lies ahead. Okay, now the way I structured this webinar is we are going to discuss how we started and where we are going to. Now, human beings have been in existence with a lot of problems, and we keep on doing our best to solve these problems sequentially over the time. That is what we have been battling over the time. More than 50 years ago, when internet was established, we have been facing problems and we have been conquering. Okay? But before then, before the web, information was being passed like something like mail, right later and thereabout, before I talk about web and thereabout. Now, the first evolution of the web was Web 1. So I want to discuss how we move from Web 1 to Web 3.0. Now, the first web is called what? The static web. Just imagine this as a newspaper, okay? There is no interaction, just you feeding from information. You just read. You don't write, you don't do anything to it. You just kind of consume the information that is present in that particular words, in that particular paper. And that is Web 1. Then how do Web 1 even come into play? What happened? What is the problem they are trying to solve back then? Now, this is the challenge we are having back then. The first thing is, how can we easily access and share information globally? Now, during this particular time, there were no way you can share information easily everywhere. Okay, so this is the first challenge. The second challenge is lack of hypertext linked documents. Now, even those that we are able to copy a document through a flash or a drive, even though we have a computer everywhere, but still yet you can't really communicate easily. Someone in Nigeria can't really view something that is in US, all right, and thereabouts. So you have to seek for a file or a drive or a CD-ROM, all those things for you to be able to consume those information. Okay? So there is no way you can get easily access to information, and there is no way you can easily click on a particular icon or a particular text and you move to another page. That is lack of hypertext linked document. Then another problem is no universal browsing interface. Then we don't have Chrome, we don't have Firefox and thereabouts. So imagine that kind of world. The next one is information silos. Here, information are being compartmentalized. That means information they are not really easily accessible. Okay, so people in China have their own information, people in US have their own information, people in Nigeria have their own information. Okay, so information is not being shared. Then the next one is manual file sharing, which I've mentioned already. Then back then, for you to share information, you have to copy something in let me say in a drive, CD drive or thereabout, and give it out to your friends for them to actually use. Okay. Then the next one, which most of us have actually witnessed this. If you made use of cartridge or DVD back then, even some people are still making use of it till now. All right. Then next one is no visual interface. Okay, that is same thing you're complaining about. What there is no web browser. Okay. Then the breakthrough. How did we actually solve this problem? Because that was a very big problem during those times. But how did we actually solve this problem? The first thing that happened for this breakthrough to occur was a young guy called Tim Berners-Lee. So this guy was a researcher, and he was actually researching with some of his colleagues and thereabout. But the problem there is that he can't easily communicate with his friends. He can't easily pass information to someone in another country. You have to create a drive, pass it through or ship or thereabout for before the person even get the information is already outdated. This was like a disturbance to him. Then you have to do what? You have to find a way of solving this problem. And that is when he created what we call the World Wide Web, WWW. Okay, so he solved this problem through this particular means. And this happened in 1989 to 1991. First, he was able to create HTML. All this HTML we're hearing about everywhere, he was able to create what HTML, which is called hypertext markup language. The reason why it's called HTML basically is that this particular page, which is like newspaper in your desktop or in your laptop or thereabouts, you can be able to click on a particular text and you'll be taken to another page. Okay, so back then, even though now it seems like it's nothing, but back then it was a magic that you can click on a particular text and you get another information. That means you can link different page to another page without just like reading something as a newspaper. Okay, so that is basically the meaning of this hypertext markup language. So this is a language in which you can easily embed a text which you can click and you'll be linked to another document. Okay, so he was able to create this HTML. Then he moved on, even though he created HTML is not enough solution, he moved on back then with some other people supporting him. He was able to create the first web browser, which he called World Wide Web, but later he changed it to Nexus. So now, back then, nothing like Internet Explorer, all right, Firefox, Chrome, or thereabouts. They are not into existence back then. Then, what is into existence as the only browser is Nexus, which was called World Wide Web before then. Okay, so he was able to solve all these problems sequentially, all the problems mentioned initially. He's already solving them. And now I'm talking about enabling hyperlink so page could connect, which I've already explained. So page can connect from one page to another page to another page. You don't need to create a different URL continuously for a particular web page, or a web page is going to be as long as forever. Everything is now compartmentalized. You can easily say, oh, I want to check this particular section of this information. You can easily check it, then move to another one and check it, move to another one and check it continuously without any problem. Okay, then you move from there, making it possible to browse documents using URL on a graphical interface. Now, back then there was nothing like URL. Okay, how do you actually access information that is stored somewhere else? You have to get address where that particular document is actually existing. That means, how do we now connect from one computer to another? We make use of URL for us to do that, perform that particular action. Okay, so he was able to do what? To create a mechanism and the protocol in which you can be able to do what? You can be able to connect to a particular server or another computer, because server is say a computer, to another computer from your computer, making use of what? Making use of URL. Now you can see the problem we are facing before and how we are able to what? We are able to solve it. So basically, the first web is just like a newspaper. It's just a static web. Nothing happening there. Just like a newspaper. Then we moved from that particular part to Web 2. Okay. Now, even though most of these issues have been solved, but still yet we are human beings and we always want things to be much more easy and less complex. And that is when we move to what? To Web 2. And this is called what? The dynamic web. So we move from the static web to a dynamic web. And what do you mean by this dynamic web? We are going to take a look at all those things from the challenge we are facing back then, and also the solution that was provided back then also, all right, by some of our foreigners. Okay, we move on. So what is the challenge before this Web 2.0? Even though most challenge was solved during Web 1.0. Now, the first challenge is how can user interact, collaborate, and create content, not just to read it. Okay, how can we do those things? So it's a problem. Next thing is lack of interactivity, no interaction in the web. All right, because it's just like a newspaper, just there to read. Then the next one is no user generated content. A user cannot what generate a content back then. So before you even generate a content, it must be a programmer, okay, before you can put something in the web, okay, or you pay a programmer for him to do that thing for you, okay. Then from there, there is no social feature, nothing like commenting on a particular document or thereabout, okay. Next one is no dynamic application. Everything was just static in Web 1. It was not okay for us. The next one is limited personalization. Now, if you go to YouTube, you can easily get almost all the information that's, let me say, based on your preference. They are tracking things that you love, and they can quickly show you those things again when you come back. Now, if you come to my own YouTube, it's going to be different. All right, those things I used to watch continuously, they are the things that are going to come out once I enter into my YouTube to search for anything or watch anything. Same thing happen to Netflix, Spotify, and thereabout. So they are personalizing the interface for you, data fetching and everything, making sure that you are going to what you are going to like that particular content. So these are the challenges that we are facing, even though Web 1 was able to solve some of these issues, but these are the challenges we are facing before we move to Web 2. Okay, so these are the breakthrough. How did we solve this problem? The first thing is that we actually introduced JavaScript in the game of programming language. This happened in 1996. Okay, Brendan Eich was able to develop what? A programming language called JavaScript. It passed through some different metamorphoses before it was able to call JavaScript. Okay, it passed through LiveScript and thereabout. Okay, but during this particular time, he was given a task in Navigator browser. He was given a task. Oh, all these things are just static. How can we be able to make it dynamic? And this guy was able to develop JavaScript as a programming language within 10 days. And then it was made a mockery back then that how can we make use of this kind of language that was developed within 10 days to power the web. But it's just funny how life could be. Over the time, this language became much more popular and much more competitive. That even till now, there is no person like, once you mention JavaScript, it's like a requirement, a basic requirement as a programmer, all right? But even though it's not totally compulsory, depending on the aspect of programming you are, but when you talk about web development, you must know JavaScript. You can't run away from it. Okay, so he was able to introduce JavaScript in the game. And this JavaScript was able to do what? To able to give interaction to the web. You can now be able to click on a particular button and it's going to react. You can now submit a form. You can now see animation in the web. There is now interaction when it comes to what? When it comes to web application. And now, during that particular time, I was able to also develop Ajax. So you can now make Ajax requests. That means submitting a form to a server, and at the same time, the server can return a response. Automatically, the UI is going to what? Is going to change. Like the interface is going to change. Just like when you want to submit a form or when you're registering at Next College, you enter your details and click on register. So once you click on register, what's happened next is that you sent a request to the server and automatically there was a response. Okay, and the page just changed. Oh, you are done with the registration, check your email and thereabout and confirm. So that is what for this Ajax request. And over the time, JavaScript frameworks that was coming up, something like what jQuery, which also helped JavaScript to keep on dominating what the web. Okay, then during that particular time, we also saw some platform now started coming up because of all this feature that was developed. Something like Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Most of all these things are just barely 20 years. All right, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, they're just barely 20 years, maximum 22 years. All of them were developed during this particular time because of the problem. You can see how all these things are just triggering like a chain reaction. One problem being solved leads to another problem which have to be solved, then leads to another great innovation. So without JavaScript, there will be no Facebook, there will be no Twitter, there will be no YouTube, and so many other applications out there. There will be no blogging, because this also gave birth to what? To blogging, wikis, and forums. Okay, and there will be no what? There will be no basically RESTful API, because you are going to talk about how you are communicating with what? With the web. All right, so we moved from there, and these are all the breakthrough and many other breakthrough that actually happened during this particular what? This particular Web 2. Then we move from this Web 2, then we now talk about what? Web 3. So even though we have solved all these problems, then what are other problems that we still have to solve? For you, it may seem like, we are done solving all the problem because we have everything that we actually needed. Somehow, yes, we did. Okay, but I think Web 3 is going to talk more about the things that Web 2 was unable to solve for us. Okay, so we move towards Web 3. The almighty Web 3 is here. Okay, so what are the challenges that we are having in Web 2 that actually led us to start thinking about Web 3? What are those challenges? Now, the first one is lack of data privacy and user ownership. Okay. Now, talking about this, Facebook makes use of your information to sell adverts and many other things. Same thing to X and many other platforms, LinkedIn and thereabouts. Okay. There is no privacy for us. Okay. And now we can't be part of those that own the web if we do not invest in it. The next one is unfair monetization model. Now you have to pay for Netflix, even though they start charging from 1,000 naira, next thing 1,500 naira, next thing 3,000 naira or thereabout. Then it happens to many other many other platforms. Their monetization is too much. Okay, it does not make sense. The next one is web isn't smart enough. Yeah, even though we have interaction, you click here and there, and everything is actually pumping up and things looks fine. But still yet, it's not really that smart. It's just more of garbage in, garbage out. The next one is centralization and censorship. Everything is centralized so much. Yes, just imagine the kind of power Facebook has or Amazon has with all this, their data center. They just have control of almost everything when it comes to what? When it comes to that particular level in Web 2. All information, they own it. And now, knowing that most of these companies are actually US backed, that means US actually has much information about you, more than your country actually. That is the truth. And that is why they are world power. Because anything they want to locate, they can easily do that. without wasting time. The next one is single point of failure. Now imagine if anything happened to Amazon Web Service or servers, how are we going to cope? And we have seen something happening like this before, okay? There is a shutdown in Google, there is a shutdown in this particular platform and thereabout, and a particular section of the world cannot be able to access some information. So it's a single point of failure and it's very, very delicate. Then how do we actually solve this problem? Because all these things are very big problem for us to solve. Then how do we do that? The first thing we did is for us to introduce what? Decentralized identity system. Now, this was actually introduced by what? By blockchain. That means you don't really need to know my name or to know my email or my profile picture or my thumbprint for me to prove that, oh, I'm this person. And that happened when we talk about what? All these blockchain address, wallet address, and thereabout. You can be able to use your address to connect and perform some transaction. And nobody knows you. All right, we can do that. And that is very popular when it comes to what? To the deep web. Because most of the things we are seeing here, all these websites that you are seeing, just like a tip of an iceberg, is the superficial world that they are seeing. There's another aspect of the web that is called what? The deep web. And that is where this blockchain and many other technology are actually showing up their power very, very well. Especially if you don't want people to know about you, your identity, you still want to perform some transaction, communicate with the world, but you don't want to reveal who you are. Okay, so that is when this decentralized system now come into play, making use of what? Cryptocurrency and cryptography. Then the next one is smart contract and NFT. Now you can own things and you don't need to go to, let me say, to the bank or you go to a law firm to seek for their advice, for them to sign some paper for contract and thereabout. So you can easily do everything in blockchain. You sign everything, things are being done automatically the way it's meant to be. So once all the condition is being met, you don't need to trust any person. The smart chain is doing those things for you, or the smart contract is doing those things for you. Now you can see that those Web 2, we're not smart enough. Web 3 is actually much more smarter. Then talk about AI and machine learning. Now, back then, things were more of garbage in, garbage out. Okay? As a programmer, if you're writing your code, you also have to make use of, if this thing happen, this should happen. If this one happen, this one should happen, and thereabout. But what if, like, there are many other rules that can come into play, even in future time, and how can you handle them? That means you are still doing what? Garbage in, garbage out. What you are doing is not smart. It's not smart. And that is when this AI and machine learning also came on board, support what you are doing in the web. Okay? Then you talk about blockchain and peer-to-peer network. So I can just send money to you, all right, and you send money back to me, and no one knows. I may not even know your name or your email, nothing about you, but we are transacting. Okay, that is where peer-to-peer network actually come into play. The next one is decentralized infrastructure, not like IPFS, Ficon, and Airwave. Now you can be able to store something in someone's, let me say, in someone's server or in someone's mainframe or computer, and you just pay some amount of token based on the coin that is being used for paying those particular things. Now, you don't need to store things in only Amazon, okay, or store things in AWS, okay, or store things in Google or Microsoft Azure. You can be able to store things in some other components, people's laptop and thereabout, and it's going to be safe. And you pay what? You are being paid in Airwave or Filecoin. So all these things are some breakthrough that's happened during all this particular time. So Web3 was able to solve a lot of problems that we did not even imagine that is actually existing in Web2. So all these things are a lot of problems that was solved when we talk about what? Web 2. Now you can see how we moved from Web 1 to Web 2 to Web 3. There is no way you can talk about the future of the web without you really talking about the past. How can you know where you are going to if you don't really know where you are coming from? Now, you solved all these things, but still yet, the main reason why we are here is for Vercel and Next.js, how they are actually going to play a particular game in the future of the web. We can't really talk about that without us also tracing back some improvements we had in JavaScript. Okay, and these are what the frameworks in JavaScript. So the first framework we had in JavaScript was around 2006 when we introduced jQuery. Now, this jQuery just made things easier for us. Okay, but what are the problem that we had before we even talk about jQuery? Okay, so these are the challenge. So early JavaScript was verbose and inconsistent across what browsers. DOM manipulation was hard and buggy. Now, if you're a programmer and you have tried to, let me say, add interaction to HTML and CSS, you're going to see that it's a little bit easy when you are starting, but if you are building a large application, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard because you managing the DOM is going to be hard for you. Okay, the DOM I mean here is just like the document that is being rendered in your browser when you request for a particular URL or a particular web page. So trying to manage those things is going to be hard, basically. So it's very, very buggy. Then what should we do about this? Because this is a problem, it's a challenge back then, around 2006. Then jQuery was developed and it was able to solve what? Simplify DOM manipulation, handle cross-browser quick, and also easy animation and event handling. Now, jQuery is still JavaScript, okay? But it's a framework of JavaScript. That means it's just going to abstract some of the difficulties that are meant to face, making things easier for you. And that is just what jQuery really did here, marvelously. So it simplified DOM manipulation, handle cross-browser quick, which means you can create a web page for a particular browser, okay? And in next browser is going to break and thereabout because there is no framework that is going to make sure that you are going to solve everything perfectly the way it's meant to be, and it's going to work in all the browsers. Now, jQuery was the first framework that solved that problem. Now, if you create application in Chrome, it's going to also work in Firefox or Opera Mini comfortably, and you are sure of that particular one. Okay, so jQuery solved that. And it's the first framework of JavaScript that actually moved very, very fast. Then from there, we talk about Angular. So Angular came into the game also in the year 2010. Even though jQuery did a lot of things, but still yet, there are some things that is not really simplified. Then Google came into play. Google funded this particular project called Angular because of the way people are now rushing to JavaScript as the future of what? Of the web. Then what was the problem this Angular was trying to solve? Now, this is the problem. Developers wanted a full featured framework with routing, state management, form, etc. baked in. Wanted more. Wanted everything to be easy for us, and we keep on wanting things to be easy for us. Back then, there is no routing, internal routing. You don't really manage the state of your application. Even form submission and thereabout was still very hard, even though jQuery was there. Okay, then from there, these are the challenges we are having back then. In 2010, Google came into play and they developed this Angular. And this Angular was able to solve all this problem. First, introduce MVC framework. Okay, model view controller framework. So this helped in easy management of what? Management of state of the application that you are building. Talk about two-way tab binding also. That means information can be coming from the front end and also can be going from the code, like from the backend to the front end concurrently. And also built-in dependency was injection. So this dependency injection is more of like when you move a part into programming, you now understand this. So it actually solves a lot of problem for those that are writing code. Things actually becomes easy because of what you can easily what add dependency injection to a class or to a function. Okay, so it was very, very easy for everyone back then. But still yet, Angular did a lot of job, and most of you may have heard about Angular, or some may have not heard about Angular. But the main thing that Angular solved a lot of problems back then. But just how we may assume, there are still more problems to solve. All right, there are still much more problems to solve. We want things to be easy for us. Okay, and that is when React now coming into play. Now, this is the framework that is now buzzing everywhere, and is more than 12 years now or 13 years it has been in existence. Okay, now this just came out 3 years after Angular. That means it came out in 2013. Its existence has been a problem to Angular because React just simplified everything that you have been asking for. Everything from A to Z is simplified everything. It not solved it once, but over the time, it has been what? Adding much more feature to its components. And it was able to what? Destabilize Angular. Even though initially it was like a competition, but the best man still have to win. Now, React come into play, and React was developed by Facebook and being funded initially by Facebook, and even till now, still funded heavily and supported by what? By Facebook. So what is the problem we are trying to solve here? Building large scale UI was messy. Like you are trying to build large application. It's going to be hard for you to build large application, to tell you the truth. Very, very hard. Developer had to manually update DOM, leading to buggy and poor performance. Okay, so things we are still very, very messy somehow. All right. And how did this React handle this issue? Okay, the first thing it did is to find a way to make things in the web to be based on components, dividing things based on components. Small structures that you can still use in another place. So that is what we call components. So you don't need to repeat yourself. You just need to import those particular code and you can run it in another page or in another area. That is what you call components and when you come to React. Now, this particular phase or part, some of all these technical terms may be scaring you, but it's nothing. Once you're in Next college, all these things will be digested, basically. Okay, so these are components. You are still going to learn about them. React, everything is based on what? Is based on components. Now, virtual DOM for efficiency rendering. We now started making use of virtual DOM. You know, before you interact with JavaScript directly with your HTML. Okay, but now there's what we call virtual DOM. Okay, which is served as an interface between your React or JavaScript and your HTML. Okay, so this virtual DOM makes things actually easier for us because React is now handling all the heavy lifting when it comes to what? DOM manipulation. The next one is one-way tab flow for productivity. So you want to make use of one way to pass information from one component to another. And that is when we talk about prop drilling or props. So you can pass information from the parents to the children. And you can be able to know when there is issue. So you can be able to predict when there is issue in your code. Now imagine not having one-way data flow. How will you be able to easily predict when you have issue in your code? If information is flowing from child to parents and parents to child at the same time, it's not going to make sense. Okay, so React actually solved all this problem for us. Then it encouraged UI thinking in state. So everything is managed based on what? Based on state when it comes to React. Okay, all information is basically a state. Any information you see in React is basically what? Is basically a state. And all these things are things you are going to learn over the time at Next College. That is basically where we specialize when it comes to what? When it comes to building application or full stack development. Then we move from this place. You can ask yourself, are we still satisfied with React? Okay. With all these mind-blowing achievements from Facebook and thereabouts, we're always greedy. Okay, human being, we're always greedy. We want things to still be very, very easy for us. No, you're not satisfied with that. You have to still move on to the next thing. And the next thing is we switching from React to Next.js. Okay, then what is Next.js? What is Next.js? Because people have been talking about Next.js everywhere. But maybe you don't really know about Next.js and you just wanted to understand what Next.js is all about. Why is it so popular? And why should I learn about it? Now, this is a React-based framework. Bear in mind the definition. It's a React-based framework. It's not a JavaScript framework. Angular is a JavaScript framework. React is a JavaScript framework. jQuery is a JavaScript framework. But Next.js is a React-based framework. Okay, so it is built on top of what? On top of React. So without React, there will be no Next.js. Okay, Next.js is a React-based framework that helps developers build full stack web application with performance, search engine optimization, and developer experience in mind. Without this particular Next.js, search engine optimization is going to be hard, all right? And some other things that is inside Next.js, that full stack application. React basically is front end, is used for building front end application. Then if you want to build a full stack application, how can you easily do that? That means you're going to learn React, come back and learn Node.js, then you start building your application. But Next.js is able to do or to handle these things for you. You don't need to learn Node.js or let me say Python fast API and thereabout for you to know what is happening or for you to be able to handle or become a full stack developer. Even though there are still some knowledge you still need to know from Node.js, which you are still going to explore all those things when you come towards the backend aspect of Next.js. Just imagine a framework you just learned, both the front end and the back end, you can easily work with them. It's very, very fascinating. Okay, so these are the definition of Next.js. Then these are the problem before Next.js. No built-in routing. If you're making use of plain React, you have to install another router, which you call React Router what? DOM. Okay, so there's no built-in routing. For search engine optimization, back then, React was basically a single page application, even though it was very fast and dynamic, but it's not going to help us when it comes to us searching things in the web and our page start appearing. Okay, slow first load. Because it's a single page application, we are going to try to download everything from the server. That is how React was. So initially, the first time you are going to visit a particular website, it's going to be slow, but subsequently it's going to be fast. Still, it does not really make sense for you to visit the application for the first time and it's going to be slow. Okay, so application is meant to be very, very fast once you visit it. Okay, and the next one is no backend integration. Then you don't integrate anything in the backend. in React. Everything is what's just front end. You work in your React as a front end application. You will now look for Node.js and work with Express or Next.js for your backend application. Or you find another language, maybe Go or Python Fast API to handle your backend application. And also, there is too much configuration, external configuration that you have to do before you work with React perfectly fine. So all this is a problem that Next.js actually came to solve. And that is just what made it the future of the web. Then first thing is file-based routing. So these are the problem it actually solved and how it solved it. So it introduced file-based routing. So you can easily move from one page to another, from one page to another. When you're writing your code, you just say, okay, this particular file is going to be the home page. This particular file should record the contact us page. This file should be what? About us and thereabout, or dashboard. Okay, so everything is based on what? Is based on file routing. We also talk about server-side rendering. That means instead of you waiting for that first load, if you're making use of normal React, if you request for a particular web page, it's going to take some time, some milliseconds, before you can now see, depending on how large the application is, so you can now see the application and you can now navigate from that page to another page. Okay, but now once I'm making use of Next.js, if you make a request for a particular page, it's just going to send that page for you. It's going to be very, very fast. Send that page to you immediately. So things are rendered from what? From the server and sent what? To the client immediately. And that is why it's very, very fast compared to our traditional what? React. Then talk about static site generation. Now, when you deploy an application, most of the things may be dynamic. Okay, so that means when you get the information, you automatically under the hood, JavaScript is going to run and start requesting for those information. But now you can be able to do what? To request for those information when you deploy application automatically. And once you have deployed your application, those information will be updated. This also helps to make our application very, very fast. So once you make a request, automatically the page is just going to show. It just be like normal HTML page without any data fetching and thereabout. So you can see how Next.js is placing itself as the future of what? Web development. So we can't talk about web development in the future, at least for now, without you considering what? Next.js. Talk about API routing. Now, this particular framework on top of React was smart enough to say, oh, someone can just come and learn Next.js and become a full-stack developer. He now introduced API routing within what? Next.js. And it's very, very easy. Trust you. It's very, very easy. You can, once you're done learning Next.js, you understand the structure and how it works. Working with the API route is just a stone throw. Very, very simple. So you don't really need for you to start learning deeply in Express or some other framework used in Node.js. Then talk about built-in CSS and image optimization. Now, there are some features that is built in this particular Next.js for CSS and for also image optimization. Before you make use of plain image tag, we are making use of React. But now you can easily make use of optimized package for image rendering. And all these things are solved by Next.js. Okay, talk about hybrid rendering, talk about zero config, talk about TypeScript support. So automatically, I don't need to start configuring anything. If you want to support TypeScript, automatically it's going to be there. Same thing for the configuration. So everything is now going to be what? Going to be easier for us. And all these things are things that this particular Next.js is solving, and many, many more. Even now, they also introduce what? AI packages. There are some inbuilt components that I can use for your AI, okay? Or other framework on top of Next.js, but it's being funded by Vercel, because Vercel is the, let me say, the ecosystem itself. Next.js is just one of their products. They also have a hosting platform and many other things they are actually doing. But when you talk about Vercel, people just remember Next.js because that is their main product. That is the main thing that actually happened to them. The best thing that actually happened to them is this Next.js actually created. Okay, then we move from here. Let's talk about the top companies that are using Next.js. Okay, and the funny thing is that this particular Next.js started existing around 2016. So barely 10 years now. And most companies are migrating from bare React or Angular to start making use of what? Next.js. Talk about Netflix, Twitch, Hulu, TikTok, HBO Max, Notion, Docker, and Vercel itself, and many other websites, even OpenAI. They all make use of what? They make use of Next.js. And that is why if you search the web for any job opportunity, most of the time you're going to see React, Next.js, and TypeScript. And all these things are being taught at Next College. All of them from A to Z are being taught at Next College. So all these things are things that React and Next.js are actually solving for us. And these are the top companies that we have when you come to Next.js. And those companies are still supporting Vercel community even till now. Now, let's talk about some infrastructure that actually helped this particular Web 3.0 to even come into play, or things that actually helped us to even achieve this particular level we are. Now, the first thing is GitHub. So without GitHub, I don't think we'll be here. Okay? This actually helps to share information. People that are coding, I can easily see your code. I can easily submit my code to you, you review it and send it back to me and thereabout. So GitHub actually helped to solve all these problems for us. Blockchain technology, very, very important. Okay, it's helped to solve all these decentralized issue and thereabout. It's helped to solve all those things. Blockchain technology, TensorFlow and PyTorch. Without these two things, modern way of building AI model is going to be hard. Okay, they helped in AI model. So when we talk about building AI model, you must mention PyTorch, TensorFlow, NumPy, and some others that are not being mentioned here, but they are very, very important. Then the app, those into cryptocurrency must have heard about this, decentralized application platform, something like Trust Wallet and many others. So they are actually what decentralized. That means no one owns it. But in terms of the control, so you control everything that you own there. Your private key, you control it. It's not like if like send your money in Binance, it's being controlled by Binance can decide to block your transaction, so you can't do anything again. Okay, but when you're making use of an application that is actually decentralized, so no one control what you are doing. Anything you are doing concerns you. So opposite of this, the app is centralized application like Binance, Bybit, and thereabout. Then talk about also smart contracts. So this is a trustless what system. You don't need to trust any person. So everything is still based on what is based on code and based on understanding that particular code. So anything you set, it's just going to run concurrently based on what? Based on that. So no need for you to hire a lawyer to come and sign a contract for you and thereabout. So this is very, very important. This infrastructure, without them, there will be no way we will be in this particular level we are. Then in conclusion, throughout the history of web development, Progress has always been driven by building on existing solutions while solving new challenges along the way. Frameworks like React and Next.js has become major force in modern application development, enabling powerful features such as user personalization, seamless scalability, and AI integration. As the web continues to evolve, React and Next.js remain well positioned to play a leading role in shaping the future of the web. So this is where we are very, very optimistic that Next.js and React still maintain the game in future web development. Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you so much, Mr. Augustine, for this wonderful breakdown of our flow from Web 1 to Web 3. It's insightful, knowledgeable, and a lot was gotten from it. Thank you so much. Okay, now we'll welcome questions from anyone. If you have any question to ask regarding what was said from the evolution of web development from Web 1 down to Web 3, you're free to ask. Don't shy away from asking questions because interaction is what we build on here at Next College. So we are all one family and we interact as a family. Don't be scared, don't be shy. Feel free to ask your questions. So if you have any question, indicate by raising up your hand and you will be called upon to ask your question. Thank you. Questions, please. If you have anything to ask about React, what React is, what Next.js is all about, you don't understand certain stuffs about Web 1, about Web 2, about Web 3, please ask your questions before we move further.
All right, while we wait for questions, if you just
Mark, we can't hear you.
have to think about it. If you have a question, I would
Okay,
like to use this opportunity to commend the presenter. Of course, he did very well. And what I don't want of things, this is just a and why here.
Mr. Mark, your network is breaking. We can barely hear you. You break up.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's a bit stable now.
All right, sorry, I don't know why network has been disturbing this. So I'm just trying to say that while we wait for questions, I don't want us to feel intimidated. Maybe you feel like, okay, this is the first time you're joining, you're sharing React, HTML, you're sharing Server, you're hearing a lot of things. So this is just an introduction, jQuery, all these things. If you are new to all these terminologies, that is very fine, okay? That is very fine. When we start the main lectures, you are going to understand everything from the scratch, okay? So it's not like we expect you, even though if you have knowledge in web development, that is additional advantage. But if you don't, okay, you don't need to worry about it. Library telling you that this is the this is library, this was built on top of this, that was built on top of that, right? You don't have to be worried about all those things. You understand why we call it library. You understand why we say that this is React, okay? We understand why we mean what we mean by if you must be a web developer, you must know JavaScript, all right? if you must know JavaScript, use JavaScript to build web applications, you must know React. And if you must know React, you must know Next.js, because that is the future. Okay, this is just advancement. Okay, so you can't remain at the bottom. If not, you'll be left behind. All right, so you are going to see the reason. You are going to see the reason. Even some of he mentioned some things, router, but all those things you might not need to know about it now. Okay, you just have to get the information that this is why we are going to stick with Next.js. Okay, we are going to know the reason, and we are going to love it. Any modern application we build is actually, is either you see it built with Next.js or you see it loading. Some applications which I have seen, even the landing page, a blog application just for displaying of text and rest of them, even when you want to land on the page, the application is loading. There are a lot of issues there. So this is the kind of thing. So you don't have to be scared by some of these terminologies, HTML or any of all those things, markup language, this, that. Okay, get the information why we are going to stick with Next.js. All right. So thank you guys. It's very nice to have you guys onboarded. And of course,
Okay.
we know as we keep on going, we are going to understand ourselves more. All right, Mr. David.
Okay, I think Gospel just asked maybe a question or a statement, right? The main thing there is that from your question, you asked, okay, thank you so much for this opportunity. Actually, everything about Next.js currently is strange, and I would love to understand the web 1 to 3. Okay, the main thing there is it's going to be strange because it's going to be hard, then it gets easier. All right. This is the first time probably you're hearing about Next.js, or you're hearing about it, but you don't really know what it is. That is how life is. Anything you are venturing into initially is going to be strange because you don't really understand anything. Your brain don't have any information about those things. But just what you just need to give yourself is time for you to start learning those things. And you're not going to start learning from the complex part. You're going to start learning from A, B, C, D. All right. Just imagine when you are still in nursery school and they're teaching you algebra in nursery school. Believe you me, you're not learning anything. No matter how smart you are, you won't learn anything because you have not actually built the foundation. So you're going to start from normal 1 plus 1, A, B, C, D, and thereabouts for you to be able to understand Next.js. Because the way we are going to move, you are even going to be surprised within 1 year on things you have actually achieved. Based on research and statistics, giving yourself 2 hours learning a particular new thing, within 1 year, you are going to be very, very good in that thing you are learning. 2 hours every day is not too much, all right? But can you be able to be consistent? Just 2 hours. Sometimes you may even be soaked in what you are doing. You start loving it. Now start giving yourself 5 hours, 10 hours in those things. It happens. It happened to me. All right. You're just starting with 2 hours. Then over the time, start liking it. 5 hours, 10 hours. So that means you are going to move very, very fast. And basically, just like I explained this in the webinar, Web 1 is basically a static web, just like newspaper. Okay, there is no interaction in it. Then we move from Web 1 to Web 2 when we start seeing things like Netflix, YouTube, because now there is interaction in the web. Okay. Then Web 3, we now start seeing things like cryptocurrency, AI, because now the web now became what? Became smarter. They're not just interactive, but now they can now reason. They are now smarter. Okay. So that is why they are called what? They are called Web 3. Okay, I hope this answers your question. This cleared everything for you. Okay. Any other person have? Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay, so if you any other person that have questions, don't want to speak, you can always type. All right, so you can type and send it in the chat box, so you can always respond. Okay, so as we are still waiting for any response, so it's also an opportunity for us to actually inform you guys. Okay, this webinar is like kicking off our new academic session. Okay, we have our classes on Tuesday, all right, Thursday and Saturday. Okay, we have our classes Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays. And this coming Tuesday, we are starting with our class in proper. Okay, and now I'm using this opportunity to encourage you guys. I know that one of our member are reaching out to you guys in terms of payment and thereabout. Okay, this is a very big opportunity for you to learn something new this year. It may seem like maybe the year is long or 1 year is very far. But believe you me, you can still remember last year, January, and now we are in 2026, January. These things are not that far. They are very near. So Next College is actually going to help you to structure some aspect of your life to make sure that you achieve one great thing, at least one great thing that can change your life entirely, totally, which is what you being able to become a full stack developer. So it's a very great opportunity for you to be part of us. And who knows why God actually connected you here at the first place. Okay, so from that Tuesday, we are going to start and encourage you guys to go to the dashboard and make your payment, yes, for you to join and be fully committed. Because it's going to be very, very important when you are committed. It's not just to learn, but being committed is very, very important. So Next College is trying to do everything possible to make things easier for everyone that is interested when you come to what? When you come to learning full stack application. That is what Next College is actually doing here. Within 1 year, you are going to become a full stack developer and you'll be building projects. That is going to be what? That is going to be out there. Okay? It's very, very important. Okay, so I will be expecting you guys from Tuesday that you are going to start what? We are going to start our classes. Now, for some of you that have been complaining, give us more time to make payment. Maybe you are also coming from Christmas holiday and thereabouts. Okay, so we have put those things in consideration. And what you are going to do is you are going to have a 1 month trial class. So you call it 1 month trial class because you also have the opportunity to gain our trust. That is one thing. Okay, so everyone can call your friend, any person can join the trial class, any person. In case, even if you want to add your friend in the group, just send a message. Oh, can you send the link to the groups? My friend wants to join. Okay, join your friends to this particular platform. Okay, it's not just you learning alone. Most of the time, you bringing your friend here, the person may testify, or the person may even become your let me say, how do I even put it? Your partner in future. Okay, in developing one kind great application or thereabout, or may even be the one to even attract more job for you. Okay, so bring your friends, come along, and on Tuesday we start with the basic, just like HTML, CSS, and basic or JavaScript. You're going to enjoy everything. Just come on Tuesday, then we kick off fully. This is 2026 set. By this time next year, you're already a full stack developer. Just have to claim claim it, and that is just it. Okay, so I leave the floor to Mark and Rosemary.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. David. You've said everything, and I just want to encourage us guys to try as much as we can to be part of this journey. Okay. Most of our students they've been with us. Okay, they can testify. If you didn't come through them, okay, maybe you came through just normal advertisements, but they can testify. Most of them are still with us, working with us. Okay, so the good part of this Next College is that you get the chance to actually work for us. That's the fact, because we're still growing, and there are a lot of opportunities coming up, because we're still thinking of um, improving and, of course, expanding the network. So I encourage each and every one of you to actually be able to take part of in this particular stuff. The first few people that started with us, even some of them started working, okay, getting jobs before they graduated. Okay, some of them got job after they graduated, but that's not the fact. That's not the main thing actually. Okay, so the actual thing is that you don't just learn because you want to escape poverty, or you understand the idea. All right, so you don't learn because you feel like this is a get rich quick scheme that you can just do, like Ponzi scheme, you get rich. You have to remove that particular mentality. Of course, there is money in tech. We all know that. All right. Anything we do, human beings do, that has value, there is money in it. That is the fact. But once you are beclouded with the whole money mindset, okay, you might not be able to get a lot, okay, from what you have come to do. You see that we have not been mentioning certificate all this while, of course, but our certificate is going to be recognized globally very soon. And of course, we offer certificates, but we don't use that to maybe to encourage you to know. You have to find reason within yourself why you must be a web developer. Okay, there are a lot of problems unsolved out there. A lot of people are into content creation. Facebook, you have almost everybody is now a content creator. How many people are web developers who actually create websites that solve problems? We don't have a lot of them. So it's a kind of thing that differentiates you from many people. And it's something that opens way for you to solve your own problem. You might see that, okay, there you have this particular initiative, you have this particular idea which you want to bring out. Of course, it's not all the ideas you come and say, okay, let me look for a developer and tell my idea. If you tell a developer your idea, the person you are not able to pay the person because it's actually costly. If you want to do something that is very nice, you have to pay huge amount of money. And for that reason now, you see that maybe that your concept, that your idea is no longer protected because you can't pay. And of course, there's no way you can tell the person, delete my idea from your head. It's not possible. So you see that one of the opportunities it offers you is you create your own. Okay, you create things, you make things out of what you have learned. People see what you are doing. All right. There are a lot of jobs out there. I've told a lot of people the mindset that AI is taking a lot of things. It is a lie. If you watched one thing, this Jack said during, I think, 2016 or so, when he was giving a speech at one university at Russia. So he made mention of, okay, this current AI, even before it came, that a lot of people, when some kinds of machine they came in, we were afraid that, oh, it takes a lot of jobs, and at the end of everything, it created more jobs. AI that we have here it's going to create more jobs. It's not going to take jobs. In fact, if I ask you to, if you are not a developer, I ask you to, okay, give me a website that is functional, you might not be able to do that. Even if you use some of these platforms that claim to develop applications, you will still not be able to solve it, because it doesn't just end in writing code. Okay, you have to make it work. You have to manage it. There are a lot of things you have to do. Developers do that. The market seller, the market woman selling in the market, she can't do it. That's the fact, even with all the technical know-how the person has. All right. So you having this mindset that you want to learn, not that you want to learn to become rich, or you want to learn to have certificate, but you want to learn to know it, to be a full stack web developer by this time next year. Of course, you are a full-time web developer with your portfolio and your resume. So when somebody sees it, it screams. Okay, so we all started this way. At a point in my life, I never knew what HTML is. All right. At some point in my life, I don't know what HTML is. In fact, my friend then, he was just using a Android phone like that, and he went to Play Store, downloaded some things, and was playing with HTML tags. I don't know what he was talking about. So we all started this way. You have to put in effort. It's not easy, but it's something that you can do. I believe that if I can learn web development and know it, everybody in this world can learn it, because most of my friends, they know that I easily forget. Okay, it's part of my life. I forget a lot. In fact, if we discuss something now, ask me tomorrow, I've forgotten it. All right, it's part of me, but I still learned it. All right, so it's something we can do. So I encourage each and every one of us to try as much as possible to make payment. Is flexible. If you can't pay the whole stuff once, you pay half. All right. The reason for payment is not because the money is worth it. All right. Money is too small, too poor. Right. It's because we need people who are committed. We have to commit something. That's the reality. If you are being given free of charge, of course, you might not be able to value it enough. And the 1 month we have now to teach HTML, CSS, to teach you guys, you get to enjoy it. You see the reason why you have to continue, right? So I encourage us to be ready, prepare very well, get your systems ready, tell your friends, help your friends. Okay, you are not going to regret it. That's one thing I'm promising you. You are not going to regret it at the end of everything. But thank you, guys. Rose, I think the floor is yours.
Okay, Rosemary, are you there? If you're speaking,
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Mark, for that wonderful words. Can you hear me?
yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry for that breakout. Thank you so much, Mr. Mark, for your words of encouragement. We really appreciate, and thank you everyone for joining this onboarding. We are really grateful, and Next College promise you that this decision which you have taken, it's something you're never going to regret. This journey that we're beginning today it's a journey that you will be grateful you took part in. I can testify I went through this journey and I don't regret any second I spent at Next College. So for a recap, I'm going to be pointing out important informations that were passed. Okay, our classes begin on Tuesday next week, which is 6th of January 2026, and we'll be having our classes 3 times a week, which will run from Tuesday, which will be on Tuesday, on Thursdays, and on Fridays by 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. So it's going to be a 2 hours max class. So ensure you are prepared, come with your notes, come with your good internet connection, and come with your charged devices. Also, we talked about the 1 month free trial class that we'll be having, where we will be taught HTML and CSS, which are the foundation of web development. If you don't have an idea how HTML and CSS works, I don't think you're going to be grasping anything in this journey. So do ensure you attend all of the classes that will be held in this 1 month. It's very, very important because these are the foundation the web are built upon. Okay, so it's a free trial class. You can reach out to your friends to come check out. Okay, this is what's going on. Come check if you'll be interested and all. So these are the important information. And regarding payments, please do ensure you make your payments before the grace time given elapses so you can continue in this wonderful journey. I'd love to see all of us at the end of the year celebrating the success we all achieved at this journey. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for your time. This is a journey you will not regret, and we are all in this together. In case at any point you have any question or you were stuck somewhere or you have doubts about anything, you can always reach out to any of us. Like I said, we're all a family. We interact as brothers and sisters. So don't feel intimidated, don't feel shy, don't feel like, this is not what me talking to. We are all one. We're here to learn from each other. And if you have anything or you notice anything that we also need to improve on for the betterment of us all, don't hesitate to point it out to us. We're always open to suggestions, to corrections, and to any sort of information you want to pass to us. So thank you so much. Without wasting much of our time, I think we've spent an hour, 30 minutes already. I think this is going to bring us to the end of this onboarding. We'll be looking forward to seeing you all in class on Tuesday by 7 p.m., which is going to be an HTML class. Reach out to your friends and families. If any of them will be interested, they can just come check it out, and from there, they can buy interest into the course and will want to continue with us. So get ready for resumption on Tuesday by 7 p.m. and max by 9 p.m. We are done. Thank you so much for your time. We are grateful you make our time to join this onboarding. See you all in class. So if you have anything to say before we go, you can quickly say it.